Here we
You blew it! You blew it!
This man was a bona fide scrub.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Oh, for you.
I'm funny how? I'm funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. I make you laugh, I'm here to fucking amuse you. What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
stupid.
Blow them horns, baby. We smoking on that Derek Chauvin pack tonight and on 420. Thank you for joining us once again on the Participation Trophy podcast. This is the 28th edition of the show, and it could not have dropped at a better time. Hours after the Minnesota jury in the Derek Chauvin case dropped the hat trick on that motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Guilty on all three charges: second-degree murder, third-degree murder, manslaughter. Gents, a small glimmer of hope, a tiny ray of sunshine here amid the otherwise dark and ugly racist history of this nation, including a more recent history which has been comprised of countless indiscriminate shootings and killings of unarmed Black men at the hands of police, serving no consequence or repercussions. And so, Jamal, man, this really doesn't move the needle much in terms of police reform and real change, but it is nevertheless refreshing justice finally served.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a little surprised that he did get convicted on all three. I think just the kind of natural inclination of how we feel about that really low threshold that police need to meet to feel threatened enough to, commit a homicide and,
Right.
Either not get indicted or just, escape free on charges. That kind of played in the back, man. I think me and a lot of, let's be real, a lot of Black people in general, even with a homicide taking place in fucking 4K, we were still like, oh my God, I was thinking for a while it could be a hung jury or mistrial, the defense moved for mistrial, anything other than, true convictions. But, having watched enough, legal proceedings, when the jury deliberated for less than a day, I said, well, he's guilty of something. But I was, like I said, I was a little stunned that it was all three charges. However, let's be real. I mean, this was the most heinous video of a police involved homicide since Rodney King. That's not to take away from Eric Garner or the countless other videos we've already seen and we've lived through. But this is grotesque. It was gruesome. And the reason I know it was polarizing is even the most ardent racists, the most troll-tastic fucking people in the internet sphere stayed away from this, or they weren't surprised. And that says a lot in my opinion. So here's the thing. You want to live your life so that people don't fucking party in the streets when you go to jail. That's what we should all strive for. So you're not that much of a terrible member of society that people actually find a lot of glee in the fact that you're going to prison possibly for the rest of your natural life. So, to your point, it doesn't move the needle on things. Ultimately, it's a step in the right direction, though.
Sure.
And look, Congress is trying to do something. There's a George Floyd bill, I believe, that's going to be passed by the House pretty soon about fair policing.
Yeah.
But that's just one. That's the federal level, right? There's up to states to do their job too. It's about us to keep the pressure on to make sure people are held accountable. It's up to us as pedestrians to fucking film the police when things don't look right, right?
Yep.
I mean, where would we be without, a handheld camera and a video at this point?
Sure.
So there's no telling what people could get away with, what law enforcement get away with. And it's not over. The fight's not fucking over. Just before the verdict was announced, it was a 16-year-old Black girl shot in Columbus, Ohio, in the suburbs.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
in the middle
it's
of the
so funny.
street.
Sometimes you scroll through your Twitter and you see one story so lopsided from the next one that you see.
And we're confused. It happens so often now.
Yeah.
We're confusing two things in real time. We seem to confuse fucking police involved shootings. Like, oh, not that one. It's the one that happened 2 days later.
That's how sad it all is.
We're confusing mass shootings. Mass shootings are happening, 2-3 times.
Texas and Wisconsin and
yeah. So I mean, back to the original point. Let's and I hate to use the word celebrate, quote unquote, the justice has been done in this case, but the fight is going to go on.
Yeah. Like there's no way I can put myself in other people's shoes to, have to feel that uncertainty that he could have gotten off. Like, it's crazy to think for some people looking at the evidence, looking at the facts that, yeah, there was a chance that it didn't go the way that it did. Thankfully, it did. But between the prosecution, I think did a good job. His defense was, I think, terrible. Jury
Trash.
came back immediately.
Yeah.
Like all of that added together, I was like, okay, like this is all going to go in a favorable direction. But like Jamal said, like this is just one very, very small baby step in terms of trying to reform and improve an entire system that is ingrained in a lot of racism.
Yeah. So Zane, you've been one guy that's been more pressing on the overall approach, right, to police reform. You've been kind of pessimistic about that ever happening. Does this change your mind in any way? Do you think that this justice being served here can make a mark in bigger change?
I think it can help a little bit. I mean, like Jamal said, it's a long fight. This is just the beginning. This is something, that could have happened years ago. Obviously, the evidence was overwhelming, but we've had other cases where it's just like the doubt, hasn't been able to, not been fully proved, I guess, for lack of a better term. But this adds the level of accountability, that people are going to have to think twice. Specifically, police officers are going to have to think twice about what they're doing, right, in these situations. Right. But it's just a long road. There's so many different things that are wrong with policing in this country, and it's not just this, right?
Right.
And it goes above, policing. It goes at the people who, pretty much have initiatives, on top of those people, whether it's the government or whatever, funding, there's a lot of things that go into it. So this is a very complex subject. So like Jamal said, you want to celebrate, but it's like, this should be across the board.
Yeah, it's the saddest kind
norm.
Of
this should be the norm, right?
Yeah, it's the saddest kind of victory.
We're treating
the reality. Yeah, the reality is that in my opinion, the biggest takeaway is that this whole ordeal has to give us a lot more than it already has, right? Like, yes, Chauvin is in the can. Yes, justice is served, and yes, we want to continue praying for George Floyd's family and pray that they get the peace that they deserve, right? But the reality here is that there are more than just a few bad apples in law enforcement, and Chauvin portrayed the utmost, like, extreme shamelessness and how bad these apples can actually rot, right?
Right.
Like when this motherfucker was glaring into the lens of a witness's camera phone as he's kneeling on this man's neck for 9 minutes with his hands in his pocket, right?
Yeah,
like,
no remorse whatsoever.
So when you in front of the entire world, and so when you see that, right, you can only say God could be with those victims that are being assaulted and mistreated in private, right? So the lesson here for me is that Chauvin proved so much about the abuse of power. He exemplified police brutality in its rawest form. That if this doesn't shake the police force from the top down, and again, we don't count that it will, but it becomes all for naught at some point, because we're gonna forget about Chauvin at some point, right? Because in between him and maybe the next time justice is served, 5 other cops are gonna go off.
So what I was thinking about the other day is I've heard people, staunch law enforcement people throw out there that, this type of incident is going to be the thing that really keeps people from joining the force. And I'm like, fucking good, because maybe this isn't a job for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe if you've seen, things like this, if you've seen the Dante Wright shooting and, so many other, like I said, just kind of countless incidents where people just find out they can't, in that particular moment, when it's a life or death situation, realize they can't handle the pressure. Yeah. They don't know how to perform. They don't know how to act. And, I hear something like, we need more police training around these types of situations. You can't duplicate that. You can't duplicate somebody that's, right in the heat of the moment and they flub something. So if you feel like, that's just not your calling, and even if you just join the force, or you're thinking about joining the force, don't do it. There's a lot of other jobs, other careers out there to pursue.
Yeah.
But this is it's too precious of a job to, to just flub something in the moment. And, take an honest look at it.
What hurts me the most, and it's not a big picture thing, it's more so just like, and we'll get to this later, like, somebody had to die. Somebody is no longer on this earth because of this. You know what I mean? And those people, the families, they have to live with that, right? And it's like, you know, what's going to happen when something like this happens and there is no camera, right? Like there was no camera for Sean Bell. There was no camera for Amadou Diallo. There was no camera for so many people that I feel like in those cases, if those people weren't of color, then we would have had maybe still a similar outcome in court. But going forward, I don't think that's going to change for those incidents where there isn't an overwhelming, oh my God, amount of evidence because these people are law enforcement officers.
Absolutely,
right?
exactly. Right. And it's so telling that even with that overwhelming amount of evidence, our pessimism going into the trial, and then our shock after the trial ends, where he becomes not, guilty on all charges. But
that's generations of trauma. That's all it is. It's generations of seeing this shit happen all over and ago.
Yeah, it's unprecedented.
Yeah.
For something like that to become the outcome. But unfortunately, along with everything else that goes on, there's a lot of pundits, a lot of just a lot of shit that circulates even after the trial is over.
A lot of moron talking heads.
Right. A lot and we've got a stacked detention with a few of those individuals, but I mean, it all just kind of parallels one another, right? Our lack of faith in the justice system and how it mistreats Black folks, and then the people that we see with our own eyes on social media, the way they react to it, either whether they pivot to something else that's completely irrelevant to eliminate the thought of justice for Black people or oppression on Black people, or they just air it all out and just say the dumbest shit. What was the guy's name today? Greg Gutfeld.
Greg Gutfeld said he was happy with the verdict because he didn't want to get his shit destroyed. Basically, he just said I'm happy because he said he didn't really give much merit to the jury itself. It's a lot of a lot of the assholes are not giving credit to, like maybe the jury did actually deliberate in a fair and honest way, and I don't give a fuck, man. I mean, the video speaks for itself. But Gutfeld, a lot of conservatives were just waiting for people to take to the streets if he was guilty on even just one, not guilty on one charge and riot and loot, just the same shit that they always say. But he said, I'm happy that Chauvin was found guilty across the board because I don't want shit burned, basically, is what he said. So that's what you think of you. Like, they think, Black people are just miscreants that are just ready to tear shit up.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
It was insane. I mean, he said it, and the way he came off initially, I was like, okay, he's gonna make a decent point of sorts. That's
where you went wrong.
While I'm happy that the verdict is what it was, even if I don't really believe that's what the verdict should have been. Like, holy shit, dude! Like,
when you lose Judge Janine, when Judge Janine snaps at you like you said some dumb shit, then you said some fucking dumb shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson cut a guy out of his show mid-interview because he was upset with him. Yeah. So there's going to be emoting. Let them have their thing. I mean, if you're going to feel this way if you feel like law enforcement is infallible, like they can't do anything wrong. So they'll have their time to get it all out, and they'll be upset. But that's too bad. Fuck them.
Fuck them is right.
Are they here? And fuck them.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go ahead and we'll follow up on that. We'll circle back on that a little bit later on in the show, baby.
Yeah.
But we're gonna go ahead and switch some gears here. Once again, we'll leave it at rest in peace, George Floyd, rotten piss, Derek Chauvin.
Mm-hmm.
Hope they keep your ass in general population, man. None of that solitary confinement shit. We need your ass exposed every day.
Mm-hmm.
Someone tweeted out he's lucky he's going to. Someone tweeted out he's lucky he's going to Louisiana.
That was Boozy. Boozy badass.
Where would we be without Boosie's commentary?
Oh God, we needed that.
And not to our local correspondent, Boozy Badass.
Put your pussy lips on live. I'll give you $1,000. Oh my God, man! I gotta get that soundbite in there.
Please do.
I'm just throwing in some random shit too.
Yeah.
This moment talking about some horror shit, some horror flicky song,
yeah,
some crazy horror flicky song on HBO Max. Just put your lips on. Oh man, but yeah, let's go ahead and let's keep this thing going, man. We got a lot more to cover. Some more excitement is on the horizon as we gradually and resiliently plow through this pandemic. Folks are getting vaccine, they're getting out and about a little bit more. And moreover, they're starting to filter back into sporting venues and arenas to watch live sports again, just like in our video games.
Yeah, dude.
Cap One is geared up to bring a small capacity of fans back in the arena, which is about the same as it was before the pandemic for the Wizards.
Ooh, but
oh, that was the wrong drum roll. Shit.
Yeah.
First game for fans back at the stadium, and the Wizards got to deal with a bunch of bandwagon Warrior fans tomorrow night.
See, that's where I think that they might have some success, because if they only give a limited tickets out to, local frontline workers, to all of their, season ticket holders, VIPs, then you might not be even giving the opportunity of all these bandwagoners to get inside.
Oh, okay. Ted playing his cards right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
See about that.
Because there's only going to be 2,100 tickets, and for at least this first game, I don't think very many were out for the general public at all whatsoever.
Yeah. So are you guys down to go to a game? Let's do a little trophy pie field trip.
I'm already there, so come through. I'll show you the lay of the land.
Neil's already in the house. I'm ready, man.
You ready?
I'm just trying to figure out
Let's
when
do
I'm
it.
going to go, but it's not a question of if. It's like just
When
what game I'm going to go to. I've been just thirsty for live sports, and not even just like a big crowd, but just that atmosphere. So I'm ready to fuck with it. I haven't told the kids yet because I'm trying to decide if I want to, if that's like a leap we're ready to take with them yet. But yeah, dude, I'm down. I've been clamoring. I said to me when in 2020 when like lockdown was the fucking worst, I was like, the only thing I want to do is go to a baseball game. Yeah. So I said if the measure is if we can get to a baseball game
in the summer, little summer baseball game.
I said if we can get to a baseball game by summer 2021, I would have considered crawling out of lockdown somewhat of a success. So
you should definitely check out the Nationals. Like they're decently open.
It's
a great stadium.
That fucking fantastic stadium.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like when they say fucking America's pastime, I've never
you feel that
been part of a bigger pastime or better pastime than like baseball. Like you can just sit there and eat and get drunk for 2.5 hours.
It's a spectator sport. Where
and
the sport
just,
is incidental to all the shit that you eat and drink and chill and do.
Like, oh shit, it's a baseball game.
Exactly.
Oh fuck, somebody hit the ball.
That's just the background activity. Just taking in the environment is vibing.
Yeah. I miss it. The worst baseball game I ever went to. I know we want to talk about our favorite ballpark moments, but Nats Stadium, man. The year the Nats blew the 6-0 lead to the
Cardinals,
to the Cards, the wild card run.
Yeah,
bruh, it was like fucking the ambiance before they blew that lead was just it was vibrant. It was insane.
Damn.
And walking out, it was literally like people walking through the valley of death.
It's like a funeral, right?
It was like fucking everyone just sulked, like the same body posture. 30,000 fans, just 50,000 fans, just. Oh my god, that was the worst. No one else goes to fucking games.
One of my favorites wasn't baseball. It was my first big football game I went to, NFL game, was Giants versus the Redskins at the time on Monday Night Football. I was like, I think like 12 years old.
Wow.
And
so this is in the heat of the rivalry almost too.
Dude, this is back when fucking Howard Cross like played for the Giants. Give
me a year.
This is the 80s in Joe Gibbs' time.
90s.
90, I think.
So Joe Gibbs era.
Oh, he's definitely Gibbs era. I think it's about 1990. So I went with my godfather, his friend, and his friend's son. Godfather's friend owned mad liquor stores in DC. He had fucking cheese, right? We had good ass seats, and the Giants beat the shit out of Washington that night. And I remember the Giants scored like on their second drive. I mean, one of the receivers scored a touchdown. So we getting up to get food. And I see the touchdown on the TVs above the concession stand. So I started laughing, right, at my godfather. And he starts to pick up a cup, like he's going to throw a cup at me. So I'm, running away, like laughing and shit. And all of a sudden I just felt myself hit like this slab, dude. I thought I ran into a wall. It was this big, burly fucking lumberjack, Grizzly Adams looking fucking white dude. And I ran and knocked all his shit over me, like his fucking hot chocolate, like fries and nachos and shit. Just fucking fell on me and like drenched my head and the side of my jacket. and
Motherfucker
he was
had hot
frozen.
chocolate spilled on him at a Redskins game.
Yeah, you're right. That's probably the
Yeah,
first time
nowadays you
it
can't even get fucking hot chocolate at a Redskins game. It's just sold out. First time out, TV time out.
Yeah, he looked pissed. Like I thought he was about to just fucking pluck me away and shit. But yeah, we had to basically replace all his food. But good times though. We had a good time. Other favorite moment was Wizards playoffs in 2014. They were playing the Bulls first round series.
Yeah, 2014-15 season.
Yeah, I went to game
what
3.
A fucking series.
No. Check that. 2013-14 when they beat the Bulls and lost to the Pacers.
Right. So it was their first round series. They lost that game because they were up 2-0, and that's when Nene grabbed the back of Jimmy Butler's neck like I would fucking kill you.
Joe has a great picture of that.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first playoff game I've been to in any sport. Was way up top because the seats.
Oh, you didn't go to the Soulja Boy game?
Nah, man, I was on a cruise that time. I missed that.
I was there. I was there for that game.
Yeah, I missed that. But
that game was nuts.
I wish I was there. When I saw the videos, I was hating the shit when I came back. But yeah, the playoff atmosphere is just different, bro. Just
for sure.
Just to piggyback off that, I remember. Well, the Redskins at the time, Redskins game I went to, not the last one, but the memorable one. I went to the game where McNabb had signed his contract earlier that day.
Oh wow!
The Eagles came to town with Vic. And I was sitting at the one side of the end zone.
Is this Monday Night Football where Vic bursts them?
Oh, you went to that game. Oh,
6 touchdowns? Woo!
6 touchdowns. He drops back on the first play, and as soon as he launches that ball, your heart just drops.
Dude.
Boom.
I remember.
By halftime, they were down by like 30 points, 20-something points.
That game was crazy as shit. Because there was a lot of hype around that game.
Yeah,
super hype. And then it started raining.
Yeah.
Pregame brawl between
Laurent Landry and
Deshaun Jackson. First play of the game,
touchdown score.
First play of the game, Deshaun Jackson burns him for a 75-yard touchdown.
Is that the one he like ran backward into the end zone after he caught it?
He ran backwards into the end zone after Laurent Landry jumped for the tackle and he missed, and then Deshaun Jackson basically backpedaled for the last 15-20 yards.
Yeah, man.
We left at halftime. Took us an hour and a half to get to the parking lot.
Word at halftime?
Yeah. At halftime, everybody left. It was pouring rain, and they were down 20-something.
Okay.
And I was just following like the game tracker, and it was just big touchdown. I was like, oh my god. But the positive experience I had was piggybacking off of was I went to one of those Bulls games where the Wizards had won. It was a playoff game.
Game 4.
It wasn't like I think it was probably something like that. Game 4, and I was not backstage, but like where they're doing the interviews and stuff like that. And it was a playoff game, so the media is just different at the playoff game, right?
It's in the practice court.
Yeah, it was in the practice court, but it was also it was in that big room where all the bloggers and media people were kind of congregate, right? Like before the games, like their little section. And I remember I don't know if I saw Kornheiser or somebody, and I remember I saw
Wilbon probably, yeah.
I saw Wilbon, and it was funny because I had a flashback to when I was a kid. And I was in the car with my cousin, right? And I was very young, and he was like, "So what do you want to do when you grow up?" Right? And I was stupid, right? So like the two things I named were like, lawyer and like writing for like the NBA or like sports, right?
Okay.
And then he was like, "Oh, that's really cool." He's like, and then at the time, it was funny. I don't know if I said going to the NBA. I was really young and dumb, right? So he was like, "Oh yeah, that's interesting, right?" Yeah, I know. Just dumb, not young. And it was funny because my cousin was like, "So what do you think the chances are of both of those things, like making to the NBA and becoming a lawyer, right?" And I put the percentage higher at making it to the NBA than being a lawyer, right? And then he was like, "Yeah, that's pretty funny. I would say the chances of you going to the NBA are probably like 0.25%, right?
Yeah,
the lawyer you could
generous."
be." And then I was like, well, what about like writing for sports? He's like, that's really tough. He was like, to get into that kind of game. And at the time, things were different, right? This is like in the mid 2000s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, it would be really hard to get into that industry. Like Michael Wilbon would have to like crash his car like into your yard. And then you have to like bring him inside and meet him and like get in that way. So I'm standing there and I'm watching, and I was just blogging for the Wizards, but I just saw fucking Michael Wilbon there, and I was like, it's just funny, like, you know what I'm saying?
This is my moment. Wow. This is my moment.
Oh my god!
One quick thing that's always funny is that someone will say, "Yeah, Wilbon will show up to some Wizards games every now and then, but Kornheiser never will because it's past his bedtime."
Yeah. Well, Wilbon's a large dude too. Like he's tall.
Oh, is he?
No.
All right, maybe to you, like he's shorter than me.
No. No, he's
tall, but he's hunched over.
He's hunched over. Exactly.
He is hunched over.
It was
he's
weird
tall
seeing
though.
it. Yeah, he's tall, but he looks smaller.
I thought he was short.
That
Yeah.
posture, right?
Okay.
He might be.
At the
What
time,
is he? 6 feet, maybe.
He looks damn near 5'7" with his posture. I mean, I'm not saying he has obviously back issues, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
He just looks smaller. He's probably tall, like you're saying. He just looked a lot
You
smaller.
got something against people who 5'7"?
Clearly.
With what?
You got something against people who 5'7"? What's up?
Nothing wrong with people with 5'7". It's just different. You see someone on TV and you see him in real life. Of course,
right? Yeah.
Way different, man. Like seeing David Aldridge. I remember seeing David Aldridge.
Oh my god!
Weird,
and
right?
Isn't D the nicest fucking? Did you ever like approach him or
Dope
say
guy
something to him?
No, but just one time, I just noticed the relationship he had with players. Like, 'cause I remember one time he was just sitting with David West in the Pacers locker room, and he was just talking to him very quietly and very. It's like an intimate type atmosphere. It wasn't like, so David, blah blah blah. He was.
It's just
like,
a conversation. It's not an interview.
Conversation.
Yeah. You talk about dream jobs, man. I wanted to be David Aldridge for a long time. Just straight up.
So my craziest, because I just want to talk about when we're talking about media experiences, when Adam Schefter had to fill in an NBA spot.
No, it wasn't a fill-in. They purposely did like this crossover thing.
It was the summer. It was the summertime, and so he was just like, "Yeah, it was." I remember now.
Right.
It was
early
summer.
It
was in the off season, obviously, right? So he's baseline, and so I decided, I'm like, okay, what's Adam fucking Schefter? I'm gonna go say what's up to him. So I swing by him, just start small talking. The players are during warm up right now, and so he's reporting for both teams basically, and he's asking me, who's 28 over there? How do you say his name? Is that Mahimi? Jan Mahimi? He's Ian Mahimi? No, Jan Mahimi. I'm sitting here schooling Adam Schefter out of nowhere on Wizards role players. With the two white guys. He's talking about Sadaransky and Jason Smith.
Yeah. Jason Smith, man.
The only guy he recognized was Trey Burke, because he was
recognized Trey Burke of all people.
Michigan alum, yeah.
Okay. All right.
What were you saying?
And of course, yours truly got that picture for you.
Yes, you did. It's one of my favorite Instagram pictures.
Yours truly.
back when Hoop District still had 2 credentialed media members.
What, we only got one now?
Don't even get us started on PR.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Thanks for holding up the flame, Neil.
Yeah.
But I also have been very spoiled by Hoop District. So in terms of best games, like it's probably 1A, 1B, Paul Pierce bank shot called game, and then John Wall game 6 versus game 7.
You were at the table game?
Yeah, both of those games.
Nice.
Those were amazing. But one thing that we had to list on the agenda was like first ever sporting event game. That shit was a wild game. It was like my first Redskins game ever, which is pretty much my first like major sporting event ever. It was when Mark Brunell threw fucking 3 touchdowns to Santana Moss to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars in like, this must have been 2005 or some shit. And the last one was literally like a OT walk-off touchdown, like 70 yards, catch and run. That shit was ridiculous.
Didn't Brunell and Santana do the same thing in Dallas that one time?
Right. They had the Monday Night Miracle. They were down 13-0 with like 3:26 left.
Yeah.
Those are the days. But Chase Young's got better things ahead.
I'm glad you guys took the Monday Night Miracle name and took it away from the Jets when they beat the Dolphins down 23 in the fourth. First time in my life. Listen, we're gonna keep it on the Wizards and circle back to the Wizards and Warriors and talk a little bit more basketball in open gym. Bruh, what in the world is gotten into Stephen Curry? What?
360 with the wrist, boy.
Yeah. I'm just shout out some numbers real quick and then we'll talk about it. 11 games. His past 11 games, he's averaging 40 a night. On 50% shooting from 3, averaging 14 threes a game.
All
right.
What the fuck is that? Just stop right there.
He had like 10 plus threes in every single game almost.
I can't do that shit on NBA 2K.
Yeah.
What the
it's
fuck?
Insane. It's insane.
Right.
And so he's on this historic scoring run. He fucking surpassed Bradley Beal in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Really?
It was fun while it lasted.
He was down by like one solid point.
Yeah.
Motherfucker was up 3 points.
Yeah.
No, he's been gaining on Beal for a minute now. He was so
Yeah. Well,
low
yeah.
and behind for so long, and now
Well, yeah,
right
I mean,
now he's
11
edging them out.
Yeah, 11 games is a long span. That's a big span of games.
Yeah.
For you to be averaging that high numbers. I mean, you look at his game log. He hasn't attempted less than double-digit threes in 11 games. And I'm talking about one game he shot the three 19 times. And another factoid here. He is the second player outside of Klay Thompson to have double-digit 3-point games 4 times.
Right.
4 games in 10. He did it in 10 games.
It's ridiculous right now.
Motherfuckers haven't done this in their career.
Yeah.
He did it in 4 games, in 10 games. It's insane.
And he's in for a big night. He always smokes the Wizards at Capital One Arena. He's always had big nights there. He might go for 40, 50, 60. Who knows tomorrow?
Right.
I don't even know who else is playing for Golden State. I mean,
Andrew Wiggins, Kelly Oubre Jr.
Why do I always forget about Wiggins? I don't know why.
They got Pascal on that team too.
Wiseman is hurt, unfortunately.
They've lost Wiseman. Dre is playing, right?
Dre is playing.
Yeah.
Clay is
I couldn't tell you anybody
out.
in their reserves, so yeah, he has to do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
right, and that was something that Brad brought up yesterday. I don't know if he was low key subtweeting stuff, but he was like, "I don't need to score 40 or 50 for our team to have a chance to win." Because, in all honesty, the Wizards have probably a better supporting cast around Brad than the Warriors have around Steph right now. And
yes, no question. Yeah.
That's just because Steph is unhuman that the Warriors are even in the play-in tournament chase right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Wizards 5 straight wins now.
7 of their last 8.
Yeah. And speaking of, having that surrounding cast, fucking Daniel Gafford, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's that hope. I've said this. The Wizards needed anyone outside of Westbrook and Beal to be consistently productive or the best at what they can do, right? The best they can do consistently. And Daniel Gafford, since he's been here, the team's been winning. They're 5-1 with him in the lineup.
Even better than that, 6-1.
Yeah, 6-1, right? Insane. He's so good. He's
But you know what? He just stays in his lane. You look at his shot chart.
That's
He's all
what
over
I'm
the
saying,
basket. He does nothing but play right under the basket.
Yeah.
And he fucking plays defense, and he's a dog, man. I mean, how long have we waiting? I mean, not the TB didn't have it, but a big man that has, just some fucking energy and like drive. And I think it was Dwayne Casey. We'll go ahead.
I was just going to say, Daniel Gafford is that player that just complements what they had so perfectly. He would have complemented what they had previously with John and Brad also very beautifully. They never had a good rim protector, someone who could catch lobs. Like they thought, oh, maybe old man Dwight could do that. That didn't obviously turn out. Like they've never had this threat. Like Thomas Bryant is a talented player, but he doesn't necessarily complement the team as well because he has his own defensive liabilities and whatnot. He's not necessarily a rim protector, but like you said, Robin Lopez called it out. He was like, he knows what he does well and he doesn't. Why would you ever change your team need from that?
You don't see him trying to pull up for fucking a corner 3 or like, lead a fast break and dribble shit off his knee. Like,
Yeah.
He's like JaVale with a brain, basically. He's what we thought we would get out of JaVale ultimately. I think it was Dwayne Casey said the other night that he sees the difference between the team at the beginning of the season, the Wizards, and now is he believes that Russell Westbrook, like the team's adopted his energy and his personality and his drive.
Westbrook has that effect on teams.
Yeah, and that's why we were, I said when we made our terrible predictions to start the season that I thought that Russ is going to elevate the level of the team, the intensity. That's all we've needed for a while.
Yeah,
somebody to kind of help bring him there. So
one last thing on Daniel Gafford, as much as I love everything he's doing on the floor, just post game as a quote, he's great. Also, he talked to us after practice today, and this is not even basketball related. He's talking about the pandemic, having fans back for the first time. Cool. He was literally like, and I quote, "I don't mean no harm, but if people just get with the program and just do the things that we have to do to get back to normal, the sooner it's going to be back to normal." And then he goes on to say, "Be able to do things that we can do, eliminate all the stuff that comes with the virus to where we can get back to normal, living everyday life, mask-free, stress-free. This COVID thing is depressing." Like, he literally just calls out and subtweets all the fucking anti-maskers, anti-vaxxers. Like, literally do your part, and we'll get out of this ASAP.
How much time is left on this contract? Because I'm already.
Oh, this is where Abdullah just drools at night. So he still has 2 more years beyond this season at under $2 million each.
Oh,
a steal.
Love it.
Bruh.
Love it.
Tommy Shepard nailed this one.
We got that. Yeah, we got that man for chump change.
All right.
And I was mad at the Troy Brown trade just because I get mad at them wasting away first round picks.
Sure.
You get mad at Scott Brooks.
Yeah. So, but Daniel Gafford, I mean, it's a dime a dozen that the Wizards make this kind of a splash or get this kind of, this kind of luck when you get the player. Like Daniel Gafford's 22 years old. He was great in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Bulls fan, you saw him on the floor. You just saw all the intangibles and the shit that doesn't end up on the stat sheet, besides like the 5 blocks. The Wizards $1.3 million over the next 2 years, and it's not even guaranteed. It's pretty incentive based.
Love it.
TB's got 1 more year. I know his contract expires next year. He's at $8 million. They'll probably ride him out. It's a good 1-2 punch. If TB can get back to his normal self, he'll be able to stretch it for a little bit. Yeah. He does. Yeah. He's a little hoppy and active too. I'm not gonna knock TB just because Gabbard's playing.
He's an improving defender.
He was starting to get there.
Yeah. So hopefully he doesn't lose too big of a step. So it'll be a good 1-2 punch at the 4 or 5 position with those two. So speaking of which, I mean, so the Wizards got a few players that are expiring after this season.
Several.
Raul Neto, several, yeah. Raul Neto, Ish Smith, Robin Lopez, Alex Len, Isak Bonga. This is Zane's favorite part of the show. Right?
I'm gonna go do my laundry real quick.
I could just see him melting off the screen as I start naming those names.
Starting looking like the pain persistence of memory.
Hey, Zane, why'd you take 5, man? Hey,
I'm like
you don't want to hear this.
Fly in that fucking Back to the Future picture where he's slowly disappearing his shit.
Yeah,
Marty. Gotta stop talking about the Wizards before.
If it were up to me, I'd say one of the guards over one of the bigs. I think we need some security at the 1 or 2 position, probably the 1 position a little bit more. And I think if we can continue to develop Bonga into a ball handler.
I was going to say, so my vote was going to be for Bonga, but I think it's more, my mind is more on what he could be, not what he has seemed to be over the last couple of seasons.
Okay,
right.
Fair enough.
Like I've wanted him to develop into like a very, very good lockdown wing defender, and it's just not, it's not happening.
That's what he should do.
Life.
That's what he should be best
shoot,
at, right?
Yeah.
Over ball handling, like he should be a very good perimeter defender.
So I want him to be like he has the tools to be like an annoying ass, like one of those that lock you up to a man, you get mad and throw the fucking ball at him. Like that's what I wanted him to be. It's just not happening.
He doesn't have that dog in him.
Now you're drawing the doubt in me, because if he can't be that, something that he should be, this motherfucker can't handle no rock on a consistent basis either.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I think out of all of those expiring deals, like all of them are essentially going to look for a payday. I would think that Raul Neto is not trying to sign for the veteran minimum again. Mm-hmm. Ish Smith, who knows? He might, I don't know if he'll retire, but he might be looking for one last big payday contract. Robin Lopez and his hook shot, like, dude, low-key might get some real money. That man is shooting like 80% on hook shots in the past 12, 13 games.
And they're so ugly, man.
Hey, but it works. It's effective.
Some of these shits look like they go downward.
Yeah, my man's
can't
feet
criticize the form if the shot's perfect.
I'm gonna talk shit. I'm gonna talk my shit, man.
Alex Len, like, I don't know, maybe he'll go play in Europe somewhere. Like, I think he's a okay.
Really? He's
done. Neil already booking flight plans for the motherfucker.
Hey, I love the dude. Yeah. Got a Maryland guy on the Wizards finally. So look, I love it.
You're gonna land at Heathrow, okay? And you're gonna take a train. That's gonna take you to Sweden. All right.
Yeah. I'm seeing more Bulgaria in you, not necessarily an NBA roster.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just think that his skill set is past his time. He's trying to develop a 3-point shot. It's just not there. Like, setting screens and being an okay rim protector only gets you so far.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. I think my screen time's up on Robin Lopez. Next few Wizards games before we meet up next week. First of all, what's your name, Neil? do you have faith in this 5-game win streak? Because you were shitting on it last time. You said it was bullshit last time.
So I have faith because they are playing better and they
Okay.
have an easier upcoming schedule. So that's where they really have an advantage over Chicago and Toronto and even probably Indiana for those last 2 spots in the play-in tournament, is that they have a relatively easy schedule. Golden State,
Do
not
they
that
though?
great.
Okay, you said okay, yeah, but Golden State.
I'll run through it. Golden State, winnable. OKC, winnable.
Okay.
Cleveland, winnable. Spurs, winnable. Lakers, we'll see if they're healthy. Cleveland again, winnable. Indiana, they're without Miles Turner now, winnable. Toronto, winnable. Indiana, winnable. Atlanta,
stop saying
twice winnable.
Okay, so basically 2 weeks from now, Wizards are now 2-10 in the last 12 games. Neil, what's going on?
I don't know.
Bertrand is still recovering from the Bertrand is still recovering from the flu. This is a major setback.
Hey, Bertrand is on fire.
Zane's literally trying to fast forward through the season right now. So keep it going now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
This is the next scenario.
Yeah, this is like auto simulate on fucking NBA 2K.
And we'll never talk about him again the rest of the
Yeah. You didn't make the playoffs. Time for free agency.
You ever notice when you auto simulate, that's when your players get the worst. You're like, oh, I'll just coast out these next 10 games.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers' legs
It's the
break.
fucking worst.
Both legs break in the next game. Like, what the fuck?
It's like 2042. You got fucking nobody.
2042, the Wizards have Ace Wall and Deuce Beal as their first round picks.
Oh, shit.
Fucking Scott Brooks Jr. the coach.
All right. So the Wizards are in good shape. We can get that 3 seed. Let's go.
The 3 seed. Maybe the 4 seed. Let's be a little bit reasonable.
Let's see who gets lucky first.
Other NBA shit going on. Sterling Brown. Poor Sterling Brown. My man
Can't catch a break.
My man gets roughed up by the cops a few years ago in Milwaukee for parallel parking or some shit. In a,
He was in front of like a fucking Walgreens. This park.
Yeah, it was like a Walgreens. He was
Jesus,
parked
how
his car
shitty
in
is
somewhere.
parallel parking? Fuck to do that guy.
And then earlier this week, I guess yesterday or the day before, gets into a kerfuffle at a club. Suffers a facial laceration. I don't have a lot of news on this, but
it's just fucked up. Yeah, it's very terribly timed that he came back up in the media considering the Chauvin trial.
Okay.
And how fucking terrible Minnesota is. Well, no, he was in Wisconsin before Milwaukee.
He was
in Wisconsin before, yeah.
The first one was okay. Yeah.
Yeah. My man had to just try to squeeze Chauvin back in this motherfucker.
Fuck Chauvin.
Fuck Chauvin. Fuck you anyways. You had nothing to do with this. All right. So feel better soon, Sterling Brown, man. Hope you catch a break, man. Hope you win the scoring title before your career's over or something, man.
Sounds like it, right?
Press X to doubts.
Oh man. The Jazz and the Suns, man. Every week we do this shit, the show. I'm like, all right, they're gonna be like 38-22 or like 38-25 at some point. These motherfuckers are like 48-16 still.
Yeah, man.
Just running away with the best record in the league. I think they're both like, what are they, 1 or 2 games out of first place or from each other?
The Suns, I think, are just like 2 games out. The last time I checked.
Utah is 43-15. The Suns are 41-16, 1.5 games back, looking to make ground up with Donovan Mitchell out for a little bit with a pretty decently severe ankle sprain.
You hear 1 and 1A as far as the MVP race has always been for a while. It's been Embiid and Joker. Right. But
That man put up 47 and a winning 3-pointer in double overtime the other night.
Yeah. But you got to look at what Chris Paul's done in Phoenix. I mean, people were, it's kind of a head scratcher move, but I think that a stat went up at like the record improvements everywhere Chris Paul's been the last few seasons. And this motherfucker's like, he's like magic beans for a team. So I think he should be in a discussion too, regardless of numbers. I mean, you just look at his impact on a team that was,
right.
From
an
young and
impact
kind of fringe.
standpoint, sure, but at this point, it's a numbers game.
Well, yeah, definitely. I'd like to see him get a vote or two, though.
Yeah.
Bradley Beal would like to as well, but that ain't happening.
Shit.
Not when you're that far under 500.
Yeah. No. Is Chris Paul's numbers, have they been great or solid?
I think they've been solid. I don't think they've been great.
Would they even be considered? I mean, because Paul's put in some numbers in his career, especially dishing the ball.
Yeah.
Right. So if he's not anywhere close to those numbers, I'm talking about like 10.5 to 11.5 assists per game.
He's
not gonna
only
be in this
averaging
stretch.
16 and 9 right now.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
This
Okay, I
is-
didn't
That's
know
John,
that was
that's
that.
John Wall
It's
rookie
insane
numbers,
right now.
man.
Well, look, man. You know, I heard an argument earlier. You shouldn't penalize an MVP candidate for having talent around them. I mean, think about just what they mean to the team. Period. I know it's a more
Right.
philosophical argument when it always comes down to numbers, but
At that
I've been,
point-
you know, super impressed by what Chris Paul's been able to do in Phoenix.
At that point, put
It's-
Christian Wood's name in the conversation because without him, Houston went on what, a 20-game losing streak after being like a 500 team.
Unfortunately, the perception is always whoever you are, you should be able to drag your team to
Right.
this level and whatnot. Chris Paul, I think last week he had a four-game stretch where he was 40 assists and 1 turnover. Like
Yeah.
this
So-
guy's
saw
just
that.
the epitome
Yeah.
of just I don't know how to
Insane.
even say. He's just
Crazy.
a dog. Underrated, so underrated, and that's crazy to say about all-time great. In my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this going to be his year when he gets out of the second round?
No,
No.
I mean he's
Well,
had more talented
it's a
teams
f-
that I don't think have
It's a
gotten
fair
second.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who,
I don't
who
think
would
so.
be around a 7 seed in the West?
So they'll win who is ever in the play-in tournament, but then they'll likely wind up facing maybe the Lakers or somebody in the second round that
No way.
Yeah.
if they're healthy,
I
the
don't-
Lakers are going to steamroll some
Yeah.
people.
There's
Like I
no
said,
way.
It's always been
I-
my theory. If your
Yeah.
best players, 5'11", you're gonna have a hard time putting team on your back, right? It's just not gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
Or
But
6 feet tall, whatever.
yeah. I
It's
feel like
hard,
it's unfair,
dude.
man.
So
Yeah,
hard.
it's yeah, I know, but
You know what I'm
it's
saying?
also,
Like,
it's also unfair. To me, it's a bit unfair, and this is I might start dragging on super teams for a second while I'm talking about this, but like for Chris Paul, like to be able to drag your team, and you use the word drag, right? And he's not really dragging his team because Phoenix is a pretty well-rounded team, right? They've got a lot of young talent,
Very good. Well
and then
coached.
and then Devin Booker is also
Stud.
a stud, right? Like a superstar, borderline superstar, and you've got pieces around them beyond that, right? DeAndre Ayton, Cameron
Michael
Johnson,
Bridges.
Bridges, but they're still not runaway great players. And Chris Paul to play as well as he has at this age, people wrote him off going to Phoenix. Like this is like basically his
Right.
retirement
yeah,
run,
people
right?
wrote him off going to OKC,
Right.
yeah.
But and look at Phoenix now. He's the leader of the ship. They're 40 and like 5, and then he has to face a fucking Laker team with 2 perennial Hall of Famers who are gonna run him off the fucking map.
Yeah, who are 6'8" and 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Man, it's-
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
play all 5 fucking positions.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
It's
And
too
that
much.
bothers me. That bothers me, right? Because like even if the Lakers played with one or the other, it'd be such a better series to watch because the
Yeah.
Lakers also have some those two, they have some great players that would match up well against the Phoenix players, but we can't see that because LeBron and AD are going to combine for fucking 98 points,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
and the Lakers are going to win in 5.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
That's the summary right there.
5,
So-
really? I'd like to see that series though. I think it could be decent.
It's a little hyperbole, but you know what I'm saying. Like, they got no chance.
Bucks and
So they
6.
got nothing. Yeah. I mean that's one of those series is where the Lakers win the first 2 games. The third game is close. Chris Paul does some crazy shit. They win game 3. They're hugging, they're celebrating, they're going crazy. Sports Center's talking about, do the Suns have a chance? And then 4 and 5 they get fucking obliterated off the court. Right? I see it every year.
It's done. It's done.
Every year.
The pivotal game 5, and they lose by like 35,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All right. So the Suns are not going to the Western Conference Finals. Book it.
You heard it here first.
Exactly. So we got for the NBA. Kobe's household family is not renewing their deal with Nike. Came out today. I don't know what the frustration was that was growing between Vanessa or the family and Nike. I know it had to do with not manufacturing enough children's shoes, but there's something that kind of led to them separating. It wasn't just a mutual decision. But I do know that the family did want to, trademark and copyright and have sole ownership of the Mamba logo and the
Yeah.
Mamba movement. So good for them. They deserve that.
Yeah. I mean,
so-
that's one brand that should be,
Yeah,
long term
right.
as powerful as the Jordan brand, right? If they
Exactly.
kind of do it the right way.
Exactly.
I do know if you didn't get Kobe shoes before, You ain't getting them now.
You're not getting them now.
Only
No,
new
sir.
one's not being put out, but that resale, brother. I was on StockX last night. That shit is higher than fucking Snoop, man. It's
because
those
Nike's
prices
not
are
even pushing that
crazy.
shit anymore, right? Like it's done. Nike's not even pushing
As of right now.
what
No,
they're not.
unless she renegotiates something. But no, there's
Right.
no new Kobe drops. So those.
Yeah.
I saw some price on some a recent drop went up like $300 overnight, like across the board. So you're not getting shit now. You can kill it.
Just take them L's now.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
Boss not gonna help you on this one either.
No, you don't. No.
All right. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up Open Gym with some MMA talk. Oh, not MMA. Jake Paul, Ben Askren boxing match. This was my favorite part right here.
Snoop.
Get Snoop. Can we just put Snoop on every
real
sporting event? Like
For
any
real,
commentate the shit out of it. I want to see Snoop commenting some golf.
Snoop is the fucking best.
That's the main event right there.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Jake call his man Jake Zane. You pirated the fight. How did you feel? Was it worth it? Takeaways.
Yes, I watched the whole event. Had a little
all of what, 5 minutes?
No, I mean I watched the whole
build up,
shebang bang. Yeah, I mean the whole card, right?
Okay.
So there's a couple things I want to talk about. Right. The first thing is, I think they're doing a good thing with these events. They're not as fine-tuned as obviously other events, companies who've been doing this forever, which is obviously HBO, Showtime, blah, 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 blah. But what they're doing is really interesting. It wasn't completely well executed, but some of the stuff they were doing was just really cool, right? So first and foremost, you had the concert element, right? You had Justin Bieber perform, you had the Black Keys perform, you had Doja Cat perform, you had some other weird performances of people I didn't know. It was really weird, but you're basically getting an entire show, right? So if you purchase this pay-per-view or whatever, however, what way you access it, that was pretty cool. You had a guest appearance from Ric Flair, right? And there was also the intro. There is a sketch, right? So you had this SNL quality of like an opening sketch, and you had a sketch with Snoop Dogg comes to a room, and freaking Jaleel White's there dressed up like Urkel, and he's doing the full-on Urkel thing. And then he basically intros into his new weed line, right? The Purple Urkel joint.
Purple Urkel?
Yeah. It was just funny because Snoop Dogg mentions weed, and like Urkel goes into his little Urkel bit. Oh, that's Sticky Icky? You mean the Mary Jane? Like just goofy shit, right? It was just funny, and it was really nostalgic, right? And I enjoyed that. They had some undercard boxing fights that were really appealing, but you had like Frank Mir, who's a former UFC fighter. Frank Mir is the guy who smashed Brock Lesnar when they fought in UFC.
Yeah.
And he fought Steve Cunningham, who's also a former boxer, professional boxer, pretty good boxer. There's always this weird feeling watching this event and these types of events, because last time Snoop was just off the chains. You had Snoop giving like Israel Adesanya weed, trying to get him high. You had this whole panel of people. This time you had Oscar De La Hoya, who appeared during the Frank Mir fight, and he was definitely either on cocaine.
Yeah, he was
insanely.
He was
drunk.
on some other shit. I thought it was just me, man. I kept listening, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he was just going on and on.
That shit was weird,
blabbering.
man. That shit was hella weird.
Let's be on a
Really
podcast.
weird.
Yeah.
He was going
on and on.
and he's had a history of drug issues and other things. So there's a lot of feedback afterwards. Like someone needs to get this guy help, right?
Yeah.
And he's fallen off the rails. He's also lost. He lost Canelo. Canelo and him had a bad split. Him and Canelo had a bad split. So something's going on with him. But it was just weird because you're watching an event and it's not scripted, right? So you're just like, what the hell is what is he gonna say? What is he gonna do? Right?
Oh
It's that element of not danger, but you know what I mean, right? It's somewhat exciting and somewhat disturbing. Then you had, and it was funny. So about a month ago, me and my friend were here, and we were watching like rap battles, and we were watching like a UFC card, right? And I got this jaunt has all these pay-per-views, and I found one. It was slap fighting, right? And I turned on the slap fighting thing. It was a slap fighting competition.
I forgot about
where
that.
you smack the shit out of somebody, right? And we turned it on, and we were like, fuck the rap battle, fuck the UFC shit. We were hooked right? And it was the worst event, but it's just dudes smacking the shit out of each other, and they even had a round with 2 girls smacking each other.
Yeah.
One was
Yeah.
one was this big lady, and one was this like tiny, skinny, like Russian model.
I've probably seen that.
And they started making out. I posted on my
Whoa.
IG. People were going crazy. They're like, "What the hell is this?" Blah blah. blah. So I'm watching this, and my same friend is here with a couple other guys, and they're like, "Man, that slap fighting shit. Like, when is the next one?" Next thing you know, they basically
Pete Davidson's in the
the Pete Davidson shit, right? And
behind
Pete
the fence watching these
hilarious.
guys slap the fuck out of each other.
Exactly, and it was one of the same guys that we were watching the other competition. He was in the slap fighting competition, so it was
is he
like
the one that won or the one that lost?
the Hawaiian dude. He's apparently like the
Okay.
top dog, right?
Okay.
He be fucking dudes up. Like he smacked the shit out of this dude. This dude fell on the floor, and Ric Flair was there, and he was commentating with Pete Davidson.
It sounds like you're dreaming shit. Like that one to sleep and ate some hot wings. And like, what'd you dream? Like, man, I had a dream. Like, like a Ric Flair was picking this guy up off the floor. He got slapped, and like Pete Davidson was
dressed like Eminem. And
then I heard Oscar De La Hoya talking fast, and like, I don't know, man. I need to stop eating that shit late at night.
Dude, and someone's like, "Man, you got some fucked up dreams, man. What the fuck are you doing?"
The fuck were you?
That's what happened. That's what happened, and it was amazing.
That's hilarious.
So at that point, and then you had a performance. You had Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, E40, and Too Short did a performance, right?
Yeah.
So it was fun. Justin Bieber, solid artist. He did a performance. The Black Keys were a really good rock band. They had performance, like I said. And then when you got to the main fight, it turned out exactly. I'm not trying to say I predicted this, but like people, and it's nothing I want to get to, and I'm rambling, but you go to like YouTube comments and people don't respect Jake Paul, and I don't like Jake Paul as a personality. I don't like his arrogance, etc. But Jake Paul has taken this thing seriously. He's been boxing for 2-3 years. He's been sparring with real fighters. He's been training every day. He takes it seriously. So it's just funny to see. Like, there's everybody in the comments is just like, Ben Askren's a real fighter. Just wait to see what happens. But like, he was basically a wrestler, right, with boxing gloves on that night. He stood almost no chance, right? And that's exactly what happened. When 2 minutes in, he gets knocked out easily. I thought it was an early stoppage, but at the same time, like he was going to get embarrassed further at that point, and it ended up exactly how I thought it would be. And it's going to
the real question is, though, did you make money off of it?
I didn't bet on it because the odds threw me off. I stopped gambling a while ago. He was only he started as a minus 135 at one point. He was minus 200 by the time the event started, which kind of threw me off. In my mind, he should have been minus 500, 600. I thought it was going to be easy fight for him, but I didn't bother gambling on it. I just wasn't in that state of mind where I wanted to capitalize off it. But I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the event. Do you guys have any thoughts?
I ordered it. My kids convinced me to order because I had thought about it because it was like it's still a big event that was taking place, even though I didn't really care for. I'm not a big MMA guy, even though this is boxing. But I was like, I was on the fence. And my oldest son, asked me a couple of times, like, well, I'll see how much it is. I mean, it's a decent price for that much entertainment that you get, so I didn't mind, paying for it. But he wanted to hate watch it because he can't stand like Jake Paul. And I was like, well, what's wrong? Because I don't know. Like my kids, whereas I looked up the athletes and shit and the artists and stuff, they follow YouTube much more. So they know all the YouTube personalities and all the stuff that they get into. So yeah, he was hating on Jake Paul. It was like, I want to watch it just to watch him lose. And I was like, all right, well, big deal. And I asked my youngest son, I was like, you don't like Jake Paul either? And he fucking went off me like, are you serious, Daddy? Like literally, like he burns mattresses and throws stuff in the street. Like, do you literally just ask me if I like Jake Paul? Like, shut the fuck out, dude. Like,
don't insult me with that question.
Take your 9 years of angst and just bring it down a couple levels. So we watched it. Wasn't that shit on the East Coast? It was in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, Atlanta.
Yes, it was in the Mercedes-Benz, whatever.
So my only beef, and I guess this is my. I'm used to getting fights that are taking place in Vegas, West Coast. So stuff doesn't really get popping until 11:30 or so. It started late as fuck. And watching that that Justin Bieber performance, him crawl through like those 4 songs, we almost all fell asleep before.
Oh yeah, it was a weird
fight
timing
actually started.
Yeah.
So definitely only me, but I love how they, Triller definitely has a pulse on what people watch and who they're listening to, and they put together a good entertainment package. And I'll probably be, getting some more stuff in the future. I signed up to the website, and it was, I'm gonna fuck with some more stuff. So I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. My last point before we go to Abdullah is this is like people are just like, oh, this is like disgracing boxing and stuff like that. Well, there's so many great fights we want to see and they're not happening. Right?
Exactly.
Because it takes
Exactly.
like 2 years for the great fighters to fight.
Yep.
And this should send a message like, okay, you don't want to do it. All right, we're going to throw some fuck shit together and people are going to fucking watch and we're going to make this
And
money.
yeah, there's a market for sure.
Some fuck shit.
Good.
How much was the purse for the winner?
Purse for Ben
Jake.
Askren was somewhere in the 500 to 6,000 range. And then the purse for Jake Paul was around 900 some thousand, not including pay-per-views. So
Ben Askren left there with a smile on his face. He still made $500,000.
For what it is, that's not bad. For what it is,
it's great. I mean, I don't think. Yeah.
So, I think overall as an event, I didn't watch the event. Just didn't have any means to, but I did catch the knockout and the aftermath. I saw it 2 minutes in, the highlights, and it was pretty emotional about it too. People were laughing about it, kind of comparing him to Jordan hugging the trophy and crying after he won the finals. And
shout out the 1 year anniversary of The Last Dance.
But you mentioned Zane, it was because of bodyguard.
His bodyguard Shadow, or I forgot his name. Don't want to misrepresent him, but he's a pretty young guy and he passed away. Pretty much unexpectedly. He passed away either during the training camp. So it was just an emotional moment for him. And obviously, everybody. Here's the thing, man. You don't like the guy. I don't really like the guy, but he's using that as fuel and motivation, right? So for him to beat, like, it's such a powerful thing that you can take small bits of stuff and create this, not a facade, but create this thing in your head that really motivates you to be like, and I've had this thing, I don't know if you guys have had it, where you work so hard just to not be embarrassed, but just not to fail because you know what's going to happen if you fail, right?
Sure.
It's a weird,
that chip on that shoulder.
He's got a chip on the shoulder. He knows if he loses, he's going to hear all this bullshit about whatever he's done is not worth it because he's not a real fighter. But in actuality, I mean, he's using that as motivation.
Yeah. All right, that's what's up, man. Tune in every week to the Participation Trophy podcast for updates on MMA and on what to watch.
Next week, Usman versus Masvidal.
Oof, cannot wait. Make sure you watch.
That's a big one.
Usman versus
we all watching
Masvidal.
that. We all watching that.
Yeah,
there's
3 title fights that night. The card is stacked.
All on the same pirated link. All on the same link.
DM us if you want the link.
Yeah, we're gonna have a round table about that motherfucker next week, for sure. We're gonna go ahead and move on to other things we should watch outside of sports. Theater is next. And Zane is gonna keep on talking right when you are. Wait, you're gonna share with us Snowfall, right? Or
I'm gonna let Jamal go. I gotta actually.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
I gotta watch the 2 seasons real quick while Jamal talks. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
He didn't do his homework.
I got something real quick. Back on my true crime shit, because I'm the true crime guru of the PTP. Netflix has a new true crime documentary. It's not a series, it's a straight movie called Why Did You Kill Me? It's about a young woman who gets murdered in the streets of, I forgot what city in California it is. It appears to be kind of maybe a kind of mistaken identity type of shooting. What's interesting about this is that the mom is relentless in trying to find out, obviously, who the shooter was, because it was a mystery for a very long time. The detectives were doing a decent job, but what she did is she actually asked her younger daughter to basically assume the identity of the murdered woman and kind of infiltrate this gang culture that's going around in the city. So she got on this is back in the MySpace days. She got a MySpace profile. She used the deceased woman's picture and basically befriended a lot of people in this kind of circle, kind of chatted them up, kind of built these friendships with them to the point where, she got closer to, who may have been involved in the incident. And through that work, even though the girl eventually couldn't do it a long time because she was just so burdened by her sister's murder, she was able to get a good lead on, who actually the shooter was. So lots of good. If you've seen any recent true crime, like Netflix produced series, it's kind of done in the same style with a lot of screenshots, a lot of typing on the screen, a lot of graphics kind of flying in from both sides of the screen. It's very interesting to follow that type of stuff. It was pretty good. I won't give away the ending. The ending was actually pretty interesting. But the style of it was really good. If you're looking for, again, some kind of quick true crime the whole movie was less than an hour and a half, I believe. So it's a very quick
83
watch.
minutes.
Yeah, it's a quick watch. And it's it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Again, if you love true crime, Netflix seems to have found their niche with, kind of good true crime documentaries and docuseries. So if you like Don't F with Cats, and if you like unsolved mysteries and things in that kind of the newer vein, then you'll definitely enjoy this. So I recommend checking that out. Why Did You Kill Me? I give it a B+.
Nice. When did this murder occur?
Man, so MySpace days, I think this was 2006, 7. I want to say around there. Maybe a little earlier. Yeah. It's around that time.
Wow.
Yeah. It was crazy seeing MySpace back on the screen again. Just
right.
Oh, those
My
bad
friend
graphics,
Tom.
those gifs and top was it top 8, top 7? Yeah, it was a little trip down memory lane.
Yeah, but that just that goes to show you how social media kind of just evolved from there. Like that's how people started to pick up things and track certain people, track whereabouts, track who you've engaged with, all this type of shit.
Because criminals will often
imagine having MySpace as your resource, just MySpace as your resource now.
Yeah,
in this day and age to try. Right, it'd be hard as shit, but people found a way to make it work, and just things snowballed from there.
Hey man, I watch the first 48 every week religiously. Yeah. That's my favorite show, and you'll be surprised at how people either voluntarily or involuntarily just give up a lot of information about their whereabouts and the people they associate with, all the way down to the fucking murder weapons and pictures on social media. So it's kind of wild like that.
and rap verses and shit.
Yeah. That too.
All right, so that's good stuff. Why Did You Kill Me on Netflix, just released this month. We'll definitely check that out. Zane finally came around to watching Snowfall. I've been waiting for somebody on the show to watch that on this podcast to watch that show.
I started and I stopped real. I don't know. I don't know why. So I'm interested in hearing a recap for sure.
So I've had too much other homework.
Zane's now
I got you.
Season 1 and 2.
Is that all there is, or there's more? It's still ongoing.
Yeah, it's still ongoing. I want to say they're on season 4 right now. I want
FX, right?
4, yeah.
On FX, season 4 finale might have just aired. I'm on season 3, but since I'm not going to go into super detail, I'm just going to give a brief synopsis of the show. I'm on season 3, like episode early on. I started last Thursday, and I'm already on season 3. Wow. The show is on FX, and the show is a couple of side notes. I had heard about Snowfall a while back. I'm a YouTube just scroller where I just have tons of clips on YouTube, and I don't know where the hell they come from. So remember Damson Idris, who is the main character, who plays Franklin Satan. He's the main character of the show, although there are 2 other main characters that the story revolves around. Damson Idris is a Nigerian British actor, and he was on a talk show, and it was funny because before I'd even seen Snowfall, he was talking about his accent, right? His accent, he has this, I don't know how to describe his accent, but he was telling the story about after he got casted and he came to LA or California, and he was supposed to meet up with his dialect coach. His dialect coach was Dub C from Westside Connect.
I love that shit. I love it.
So literally, and he was just doing his Dub C. He's like, yeah. So he's like, so I got the call, and it was like, yo, what up? This is Dub C. Blah blah. And he was doing like the impression. And when you watch the show, his voice literally, to an extent, sounds like Dub C.
Yeah.
So that's a cool little tidbit. The other tidbit that I learned about before and after watching the show is that this show is loosely based on Freeway Ricky Ross. And now, if people don't know who Freeway Ricky Ross is who the rapper Rick Ross is, quote unquote, named after. Freeway Ricky Ross is one of the largest drug traffickers in U.S. history. He went to prison for a while. I think somebody snitched on him. Long story short, he's out now. And basically, he met up with John Singleton, according to him, and basically gave him the inspiration for Snowfall. And then John Singleton fucking disappeared. So,
wow.
That's his story. John Singleton, as you guys know, is an Oscar-nominated director. Do we have to go down the list here?
Just give him a couple.
Yeah, we got Boys in the Hood was probably the biggest one, where he's nominated for the Academy Award in 1991. Off the top of my head, I don't have the rest. Was Poetic Justice John Singleton?
I believe so. I'm kind of pulling it up now myself.
Yeah, I usually know most of his stuff, but let's see.
Poetic Justice, Higher Learning,
Baby
Boy, Four Brothers, Shaft.
Okay.
Yeah,
Four
it's got some
Brothers.
bangers.
So yeah, so definitely, you know, a crime story savant, especially one that's kind of, you know, revolving around the projects, et cetera, et cetera. But to jump into the plot, it's basically based around 1983, and it's around the time where the cocaine crack epidemic basically entered the U.S., especially, you know, the West Coast area. So the story revolves around Damson Idris, who's playing Franklin Saint. He's a young kid, and his foray and ascent and descent, for lack of a better term, into the drug game. There's another couple characters. Essentially, you have three kind of main characters that the story revolves around, where you kind of going from one character to the other to the other. They're all in the same game, right? They all haven't met, or, you know, they haven't interacted. But, you know, as the story goes on, these characters come closer and closer together in this ecosystem, right? And you kind of know that's where it's headed. So it's a good show. It's a very good show. I guess what got me into watching the show, there was some scuttlebutt about how, you know, I think Maul from the Joe Budden, formerly the Joe Budden podcast, or the show, was saying that it's better than The Wire. I don't want to criticize the show to that extent, because it's a very entertaining show. It's very good. If you're into shows about drugs and crimes, and basically that does have some sort of historical aspect of it, you know, according to Ricky Ross, this is inspired by him, right? Franklin Saint's character is inspired by Rick Ross. So, you know, you're going into a story about, you know, people who are selling marijuana, and then they say, oh, well, what's this drug? You know, cocaine that's in the streets now, right? And at the time, cocaine was a rich white man's drug, right? Black people, Spanish people, people of color, or, you know, people in, you know, poverty in neighborhoods, they couldn't afford that, right? And obviously, you know, at some point, crack is going to come into the mix, right? Because crack changed everything, right? It basically made cocaine, it turned cocaine into something that was more powerful, more affordable, and, you know, worse for people. And there's also aspects of the story about how the CIA is involved in this, right? Because there's always these theories about, you know, Reaganomics, et cetera, you know, drugs being pushed into the hood. And that's based on wars that are happening outside of the US with different countries, because the drugs are coming in. So one of the main characters is a CIA operative. Another character is a young Mexican girl who's foraying into the game. And then you have the story of Franklin Saint, who's basically in the streets and dabbling in this drug industry. And he's trying to make something of himself, right? He doesn't have a father. You know, it's a single mom. He's in a fucked up area. And his mentality is, and everybody's mentality in the drug game is, they have this mentality where they don't think about what it's doing and who it's ruining, but it's like, if I don't do it, somebody will, right? And it's always the central theme in a lot of these drug stories about these people who basically become drug kingpins or drug dealers, right? That's their mentality, and that's how they look at it. And obviously with that comes fractured relationships, comes, you know, a lot of drama, comes violence, the possibility of death, and the greed that comes with it is people can't let it go, you know? So that's the way I look at the story. It's 2 seasons in, it's very good. Got 2 more seasons left. It's still running. It's a very solid show, super entertaining. I recommend it to anybody.
It will enter my queue.
Yeah, definitely enter your queue. And like I said, I watched it because it was being compared to The Wire. I do not think it's up to that caliber or level on any level, because it's not, but it's still a damn good show.
So
The Wire,
Zane,
top quality
Zane,
shit.
To appease you, you know, I started and finished season 1 of The Wire finally.
Finally,
So,
round of applause, everybody!
finally,
Please.
That is big. That's big. That's big.
It is
Please
big.
clap. Please clap.
It's funny, you know, having only watched 1 season. Obviously, I've got 4 seasons still left to watch, and you explaining Snowfall. It's kind of incomparable to compare the two in terms of overall plot summary. So going into The Wire, I knew it was mostly focused around the basically 2 parallel narratives, right? One is the streets and one is the justice system. And for me, season 1 couldn't have set the tone better for that approach.
So good.
Because you see, as things are unfolding and things are developing, both on the street level and in the justice system, from the cops to the to the judge, to members of Congress, the mayor, the 2 different dynamics and how they draw parallels to one another at the same time. So you've got characters like Stringer and Avon versus McNulty and bunk, right? Like you got two very close relationships that have their own internal difficulties, and at times they flare. I'm sure they get worse at some point. But for me, that was extremely compelling, and fantastic, fascinating for them to be able to draw the storyline using those two different dynamics and do it so well. I can say right now, like after season one, I've been saying this to myself. If you were to like draw a certain character trait of every single character in the show so far and lump them into one person, they'd be like the greatest human being ever.
It's a great way to look at it, and
it's just so many different. It's just so
one of
many.
The greatest things about the show is,
and
it's such a simple thing. There are no good people. There are no bad people.
Mm-hmm.
There's just people in the game, and they all have their role. Right.
To that point, and I know you want to speak more on this, but if there's one common denominator that I have found between the two groups, the streets and the people in the offices and the government, is the lack of empathy and the lack of humanity all across, right? Even the cops, right? And we can tie this into bad policing and things that are happening in society today, but there's no driving force for empathy or humanity when it comes to these particular cops. Every single one of them have their own personal agenda for why they do what they do, right? You've got the narcotics team guys, right? Like, they probably have some sort, I'm not saying they're heartless, right? But the driving force inside them is not just let's be there to protect and serve. It's just not. No. It's not, right? No. McNulty has his own agenda. He's egotistical. Right. You've got Greg, even Greg's, right? In the bar scene where she's drunk and they're asking her, why did you become a cop? She said it was the adrenaline rush of being able to pursue someone and throw them down and arrest them. Like, it wasn't because, I'm helping somebody on the street or I'm helping somebody out. So
Herc is the epitome of that.
And Herc and Carve, they go out one night to the towers just to
bust
fuck around
heads,
bust heads. Right. And ironically, they got their heads busted. But you see this even at the level of the judge. The judge has his own agenda. He wants to. He's on the mayor's ticket. You've got deputy ops. He wants his photo op. You got Major Rawls is just a racist piece of shit. He doesn't give a fuck. Right. He's trying to push bodies out of his jurisdiction. They're trying to dump them.
He doesn't care if the crime gets solved. He just wants to be accountable for it.
He doesn't care.
I want that case going black.
Everyone is like you know how they call government contractors billable. You're just a number in the system, right? Like, and this is obviously on a much higher, more serious scale, right? FTE, right? And that's what it is. And that was concerning. That was concerning because as much as you enjoy the arts and the cinema of the show and the writing and the character, you circle back to remembering this is real life shit. And Zane,
this is real life.
You said this to me, like they've actually pulled dudes off the street to play supporting roles in certain scenes in The Wire.
The co-writer along with David Simon is a former police chief in Baltimore, right?
So
and David Simon used to write for the Baltimore Sun. So everything you're seeing is what is happening in some level, and it's just it's with the backdrop of well-cast characters with very intriguing personalities across the board. I mean, you probably mentioned 6, 7, 8 characters who, when you first saw them on screen, you're like, this isn't sexy, right? To an extent, right? And then when you get into it, you're just like, okay, this makes a lot more sense.
Something I really admired about The Wire is the fact that they use a mix of very seasoned actors and people who had almost zero to little zero experience coming in. So it added to a kind of authenticity balance of the casting. I mean, it felt so raw, like it felt real gritty. Somebody like a Snoop, right, who basically hadn't been around a script ever, right?
Ever.
But you could not imagine anybody else in those roles.
Yeah, Michael K. Williams just brought her on set, and she got hired, and she went to jail for attempted murder. She used to sell drugs, sell heroin, sell.
I was I went to school in Baltimore. I went to Morgan State University, and there are a few people that were in Morgan's acting group that I saw sprinkled throughout the show. I used to be on a TV show called Teen Summit on BET, and some people that were on the show with me that were going to Duke Ellington School of Arts in DC had bit parts, and you could see they kind of made that leapfrog. Some, went on to do other stuff now. Somebody else that was on the show has ended up in some other films that I've seen. So I just like that kind of mix of different levels of acting ability and how it kind of again made that show so well rounded. I haven't seen him done it like anything like that on any other show.
Yeah, it's just it's crazy. And Abdullah, I'll get back to you, but like when you get to season 4, the main characters of season 4 are 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
4 kids, and it's the best season of television I've ever seen. And then you add those.
Oh man, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
All the other characters.
Yeah,
and it's just it. The only thing is, it's not for everybody. It is the most devastating, bleak show I have ever seen in my life. There's no silver lining, rarely, but it's just real, you know.
Yeah.
And but I'm glad you watched it, man. It's
I want
a
to rewatch
revelation.
now.
It's a revelation, and it changed. It's like it's a piece of art that changed my perception of like David Simon. His classic quote is, "There's 2 Americas." Right? We think we're living in one America, but there's 2 Americas. And the second America are the inner cities, right? The inner cities, the ghettos in Baltimore and New York and wherever. And it's just like it changed how I view everything I see on the news, everything with what we see with policing in this country, the war on drugs and the effect that had, and how it pretty much ruined this country for many people, right? So it's a work of art, man. It's a freaking masterpiece.
Yeah, it's certainly powerful stuff. Certainly powerful stuff. I'm on season 2 now, episode 3. So I'm deep in the thick of things with the Greeks and the Russians and Polacks, the docs and
the docs. Frank Sabatka.
14 Jane Does. Yeah, Frank Sabatka. I like Frank. I like Frank right now. I like Frank. Okay, so you still like Frank?
He's an intriguing character.
My favorite character is
Stringer Bell.
Omar Little. Omar Little.
Michael.
I like Omar a lot. I love it's hard. It's hard, man. Avon and that's why I meant when I said right.
What about Weebay?
If you Weebay, I mean that's another story. I talk about Weebay all day.
Yeah. Look here, D.
Look here, D.
Look here, D.
Listen, yeah, like I said, you pull a character trait out of every single one of those characters and lump them into one person, and it's just
it's fascinating.
I've been longing.
Even Avon and Stringer's dichotomy and like their relationship and their yin yang type thing is fucking.
No, I mean just Stringer Bell. First of all, his presentability, right? Just the way he carries himself, being from the hood, and then Avon is just so smart. Like to me, he's always
the
thinking
smartest of the street smart all
you know
day.
What I mean? Like it's just great show. I get hooked when I watch something and I like it. I get hooked, and it's hard to
took you long enough.
Anyway, so hey man,
favorite.
Just had to So good shit. I'm gonna keep updating y'all on the Wire. I like this. I think the Wire brings out the best in all of us. So.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I might just have to rewatch it and catch up to Abdullah.
That's what I feel like too. Yeah.
I've seen it 6 times. I'll watch it. I just want to watch it again.
Yeah. Definitely. A couple more quick notes in theater. Happy 27th birthday to Illmatic.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, 27 years old. April 19th, 1994. Classic album, reinvigorated in New York. 6 producers. Always boggles my mind. 6 producers collabed on this album for a 20-year-old kid out of Queensbridge who was never on the scene.
We got Q-Tip, Fat Professor. Who else?
Yep.
Fat Professor.
Primo. Yeah.
Large Professor.
Large Professor. Night Professor.
Because I was about to say,
Nutty Professor.
All right, Eddie Murphy.
Large Professor. Yeah, that was the guy responsible for the barbecue.
With Fat Professor.
Yeah.
Then I heard
the barbecue, man. On the barbecue. That's where it all started.
Yeah.
That's where it all started. So, and rest in peace, Black Rob. We're gonna get into a little bit more Black Rob, but that kind of caught me off guard. I knew he was sick, but I knew about it a little bit late. Like he was already in the hospital, kind of just bugging out, organs failing. I didn't know he had I didn't know he was struggling for that long.
That one video was, I think,
was tough.
Put his health issues on the radar for a lot of people.
Yeah. Black Rob, what I enjoy about Black Rob is that it reminds me of Big's influence on Bad Boy as a whole. Because Big's influence was allowed Bad Boy to kind of veer in 2 different directions, both mainstream and on the street. And even the Locks kind of meshed in both, right? They went mainstream and then it was like, fuck that, we're going back to the street.
Yeah.
You had your Black Robs, you had your G Deps, you had your Craig Mack was a little mainstream but a little bit more raw. So I
That's a good
I
point.
enjoy Black Rob. I love that element of Black Rob just being. I never really thought of him as bad boy. It was hard just hearing somebody from the street being so
Right.
raw and
Right.
putting
Right.
out shit like that. I mean, he had that one mainstream hit. I mean, he went platinum on Life Story and
Mhm.
hit the Billboard charts for a couple weeks with Whoa. But overall, you know, he was a little more raw, a little more gutted. But rest in peace to him.
Yep.
Happened right after DMX. So bad week for us old heads, man. I'm telling y'all.
Yeah, it was.
Um,
It was for sure.
So we're gonna go ahead and move on to Detention and wrap this thing up.
What is going on here?
So speaking of Black Rob, his boss or former boss, P. Diddy, caught some heat this week. There's been a perception about Diddy and his relationships with some of his former artists. You know, of course, a few of them end up broke or, you know,
Let's just
not
start
doing
with the
too
fact
well.
that
Yeah,
I mean they usually don't get even around to like album number 2. Like there's
Yeah,
something with bad
that too.
boy artists that they kind of get stuck after a while, and they I don't know. I don't know what it is about.
Well, no, you're right, because even somebody the other day on Twitter was like, "Oh, Life Story is hands down the best album the Bad Boy ever put out outside of the 2 big albums." And I was just kind of like, "Yeah, well, what else is there?" Because you could talk about
Child of
Harlem
Ghetto.
World. Oh, G-Dap, yeah, G-Dap.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
my favorite.
And that's fair. But outside of that, right? We're talking about Bad Boy as a record label and as a motherfucking crew, right? Like
Yeah.
we're talking about Bad Boy as a label to only put out a handful of, and considered a prominent label, right? Like Bad Boy, Death
Oh, yeah,
Row,
yeah,
the whole
yeah.
mid-90s shit. Like they weren't some small time label.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
this ain't Tommy Boy Records. This is Bad Boy, right?
Right,
So
right.
to only
right.
put out 4 or 5 quality albums, because Harlem World was good for what it was, for the time it came out. Not a memorable album. 112 wasn't that memorable. Even No Way Out, the P. Diddy album. There was a couple good joints on there. Victories on there.
I actually love that.
It's a
I
good
love that.
album. It's a good album.
It's a good
but it was,
album. You're making me pull up the track list.
I love you know what?
Banging
I'll
that
take
shit when
back.
it came out.
All right, so we'll make that probably the fifth best Bad Boy album. But yeah, you're right. To your point, Bad Boy just hasn't really produced great albums. And Biggs, you know, obviously Biggs' career got cut short.
Yeah.
And Diddy was never really an artist, and Mace found God, and Loon followed him.
Yeah.
Then he found
So, I mean,
vodka.
So
How
the
about
track
Loon?
listing for No
Yeah.
Way Out, which is a compilation album to your
Okay.
credit.
Yes.
All right. Victory. Been Around the World.
Uh,
Don't Stop What You're Doing featuring Lil Kim. I love that
Yeah.
song.
yeah.
If I Should Die Tonight featuring Carl Thomas. It's All About the Benjamins.
mm,
Is This the End with Carl Thomas, Genuine and Twister?
Carl
Senorita.
Thomas all over that jump.
Yeah. I mean, it's a compilation, right? Senorita. I love that song. I love that beat.
Yeah.
I'll Be
Oh,
Missing
that's
You.
so good. Yeah.
And Can't Nobody Hold Me Down. It's a lot of
Lou,
Billboard.
yeah.
songs in there.
Lou the Mechanic.
That's a
Lou the
compilation
Mechanic
album.
from Senorita. Yeah. Okay. No, that was a good album. Senorita is one of my favorite.
That's a
songs.
compilation. It's not just Puff Daddy,
Yeah.
which I'm sure he probably made most of the money off that
Yeah.
album.
So Diddy drew some criticism after he posted a Instagram post saying everyone's singing and dancing to your songs, Black Rob, rest in peace, and everybody was just like, well, where the fuck were you
yeah.
the past few
yeah.
years? Like he was, you know, broke and dying.
Yeah.
So
There's two sides to this, right? And I'm gonna bring up 2 other people, right? 2 other people are 50 Cent and Jay-Z, right? Those are probably not the equivalents, but the 2 other people you might think of, right, on Diddy's status level, from being at the top of a record label or being at the top of a roster where they have guys like, you know, how they have coaching trees, like they got Mike Holmgren and shit like that. You got the 50 Cent tree, you
Right.
got your G Unit, everybody under him. You got the Jay-Z tree with State Property, and all those guys under him. And then you got P. Diddy, right? So the flip side of the coin is, with 50 and Jay, what they always had problems with their artists is none of their artists ever excelled on their own. It's very rare that any of those guys excelled on their own, right? And Beanie Siegel had a decent career, Freeway, and same thing with G Unit. They had decent careers, and those guys had not beefs, because what ended up happening is the artists under them were always pissed off at Jay-Z and 50 Cent, right? Jay-Z and 50 Cent were making this money, and these guys, unless they had a Jay feature or 50 Cent on there, these guys were never able to capitalize on their opportunity, right? And most of it is because they weren't hungry, right? I mean, there's an infamous moment that really was the end of G Unit, is when 50 Cent called a meeting and Young Buck was there, and Lloyd Banks was there, and Tony Yayo was on there. And 50 was just fed up because he had this hunger that these guys didn't have, right? They weren't doing promo, they weren't on their social media or whatever they had at the time. And he said, I want everybody to look underneath the table. And he was basically like, there's only one person here wearing G-Unit shoes, right? This is our fucking shoe. Why am I the only person wearing our shoe here, right? So that was an illustration for him that these guys just aren't built for it, right? And he cut them off. And his rationale was, I gave these guys the opportunity, right? And they didn't make anything of it, right? Same thing happened with Jay-Z. Beanie Siegel did a lot of shit on the street for Jay-Z. Beanie Siegel fought beefs for Jay-Z with Jadakiss. That was Jay-Z's beef. He put himself out there. But every other month...
Who stabbed on to make him take the blame?
So same thing, right? And at the end, these guys were left high and dry because they didn't put in the effort, and they thought what they were doing for Jay-Z afforded them for Jay-Z to take care of them forever, right? And eventually just Jay-Z just fucking bounced, right? He gave them the opportunity. I mean, even though Memphis Bleek never took off, Memphis Bleek was always loyal to Jay-Z. He never doubted him. He never said, you didn't give me shit, right? So you can say that for Diddy, right? Okay, he gave people the opportunity, but Diddy has just been... He's very opportunistic, and I don't think he has really much empathy for his artists outside of I gave you an opportunity, because the Locks had an infamous beef with him where the Locks went on Hot 97, all right? And they were Martinez.
Refrigerator off the...
the refrigerator off the... the glass refrigerator, the steel door refrigerator off the roof. And they were basically like, they got no money off their deal, right? Which
That's
obviously
crazy.
they didn't know what the fuck they were doing, and they trusted someone like Puff Daddy to kind of take care of them. But at the end of the day, Puff Daddy is a ruthless businessman, right? Like Jadakiss says, he's a gangster with the paperwork, right? What Styles P called him, he's a gangster with the paperwork, right? But P. Diddy is just a ruthless motherfucker. Like, people don't understand. Like, back when Tupac got shot, the guys that shot him, Haitian Jack and all these other guys, P. Diddy was associated with these guys in the streets, right? P. Diddy's a fucking gangster, like, to an extent where, like, he's super duper connected, right? And I was telling you earlier, he put the bounty on the death row chains, right? 75,000 to Southside Crips. Anybody get a death row chain, right? His bodyguard killed Suge Knight's bodyguard, right? They had an incident, and that was the beginning of their beef. That's what started it, right? One time Drake took a beat that was supposed to be for P. Diddy. P. Diddy slapped the shit out of him. He met it with him, and he slapped the shit out of him. Literally, this happened. This actually happened.
Damn.
Right? So, like, this is a ruthless motherfucker. That's fine, right? But, like, you go through the list, right? And whether it's his fault or not, Black Rob, I know he paid for his funeral, but I question whether that is something that was asked to be put out there for a PR spin, right? I mean, this guy's been homeless for a while, whatever. The Locks basically begged to get out of their deal. G-Dep basically killed someone 20 years earlier, and one day he woke up and the guilt ate at him, and he basically confessed, and he went to prison. That's what happened to G-Dep, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Loon converted to Islam and went to prison and all sorts of stuff, right?
Wasn't Shine with Diddy?
Shine was with Diddy, and Shine basically alleges that he was doing that for Puff Daddy, and
He
that
took
was
something
his gun,
for Diddy, and ended up going to jail.
And it ended up saying that it wasn't his gun. He had no idea, when the story really sounds like P. Diddy was basically offering people to take the fall. He was in the limo, and he was saying, I'll give you this much money to, like, the driver, whoever it was, like, this is your gun, right?
Crazy.
These are all alleged, but, like, it's just a common trait, and everybody says it too. He puts himself on the record in the writing credits so that, and people don't notice it, they put himself in the videos so that he can eat off the royalties, right? None of his artists ever end up getting royalties, right? And this is exactly what we're seeing.
It's weird here because a lot of people, especially from this era, remember Diddy as the Howard University student as a party promoter that had the big ass overbite, right? But this shit I'm learning now about, all the shit that he's been into, and
oh yeah,
I didn't know about that side of Diddy, but
oh yeah, I mean the story is always, I mean, he was at Arista, and he was a hardworking RA or whatever the term is, like a guy trying to find talent, and he ended up Jive, whatever it might have been, and he caught the eye of these people. And he's a hardworking dude, but there's a lot of shit out there, and it's not just like it's been confirmed by multiple, like the Drake shit's fucking crazy. Like I forgot what song. I think it was Started From the Bottom, where like that was P. Diddy's beat, and like he was in the studio, and he told like the producer, who's like, nah, this is like P. Diddy spoken for, and he's like, nah, fuck that shit. And then P. Diddy heard that shit in the radio, and he was like, and he confronted Drake, and he smacked the shit out of him.
To be a fly on that wall for that smack.
Oh, exactly. And
there's imagine a handprint on Drake's face, like how red that shit would be.
Oh yeah,
pretty good.
Looked like that. Raptors purple.
There's a lot out there.
Well, goddamn, man, we knew detention was going to be weak going into this week, and this fucking shit turned into the trial of P. Diddy.
I know, right? I'm ready for a docuseries now.
The
I mean,
defense
Craig
rests
Mack,
his
same
case.
thing. When Craig Mack was
no.
dying, Craig Mack was like, I haven't talked to Diddy. There's so much money. I feel like he just, I mean, obviously you don't owe anybody everything, but like at a certain point, you gotta like.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Well, I hope Diddy's not listening to this podcast right now. I can just see him just turn around looking at somebody
tomorrow.
like, you hear this motherfucker? No, I'm probably gonna get smacked. You're fucking over here defending him.
Yeah.
Turn your location off.
All right.
Ines,
well,
you just want to do your taxes right there? Babs, you gonna do your taxes?
Oh,
Hilarious,
not the
man.
band. Oh,
Not the
god.
band. Oh, the band. Whatever happened to the fucking band?
The band, dude. Yeah. I ain't gonna lie about
Why?
the CD because I just wanted motherfuckers to win, but I knew their fate was sealed after they released the album. Like, I don't know the last
yeah.
Diddy group that actually did something. Was it Dirty Money? Probably.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
know.
that probably is what it is.
Okay.
But,
I couldn't tell you. Well, the one motherfucker we had in detention, he just got escorted out of here, and so we're gonna go ahead and escort ourselves off the show. It was a good one. We went over. We were almost 2 hours now. And
Hour 35.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and keep it going next week. From myself, Abdullah, Jamal, Neil, Participation Trophy Podcast. Good night.